what's really important to me, and I get excited, you guys will have to put up with me for 2 hours because I get excited about this stuff. We invest in people, we invest in the company. I love that. That's why I stay here, that's why I'm gonna be here for the career. We care about people. I wanna see smiles on people's face when we walk through. We're gonna invest money to make sure they're better. We're gonna invest money in automation to make sure that we keep costs down. And I'll continue to show you the investments we put in. So I'm gonna walk you through if we can find a narrow aisle. Kind of squeeze through. These are narrow aisle picking. We have to stay in this building. We are growing very fast. We've had huge growth this year. We're growing next year as well. So I have to stay in this building as long as we can. That's why you see narrow aisle racking, where we actually have somebody coming through and all electronic picking. So they're picking the high volume stuff on the bottom, the low volume stuff is on top to make sure that we've got the fastest movers where we don't have to go up on lifts and everything else. So we designed the entire warehouse to make sure that we put things in the right place for the most effective material flow. So our pick accuracies are over 99%. It's really, really important that we maintain inventory accuracy. Without that, we can't build products, we run out of service parts, and hopefully, if you guys order service parts, you see that we have good on-time delivery, and we make sure that our dealers and everybody has the service parts that we require. So we actually
bigger
carry
pockets.
$13 million
Bigger pockets.
in-house of just service parts.
They're filling up there.
And to give you an example of how much we don't run out of product, like our finished goods, we actually carry a total of $113 million of inventory right now. That's a lot of inventory here. And we do it to make sure that we can meet demands, be versatile, and make sure that we don't run anyone out of product. It's really important for us to make sure that our product's out there and available for you. So as we walk through, I'll show you one of our new business units that are actually coming. So we're diversifying as much as possible. We want to make sure that we've got needs for anyone that's working outdoors. So one of the big ones is generators, big diesel generators. We want to make sure that if someone's got outdoor concerts, or if we've got something that we want to do with a construction site or oil fields, we actually produce over in Japan big generators over here. You see they're mobile generators. They put on the carts, and that's a new business segment. So we're always looking for new and innovative ways to create new excitement, to get product that we can use that makes us unique to the field. Yes, these are out there, but we really have a different product that's unique that actually makes it very, very exciting for us for the future. So as we go through, you'll see I want to be really transparent with you guys and let you know. So that's why I'm not afraid to answer any questions. In fact, you're going to see a product right here. I don't know if you guys ever heard of these guys before.
Yeah.
So we make some products for our competitors. We have very good relationships.
Ooh.
We have very good relationship in general. To me, it's really important that we share. We don't necessarily share trade secrets, but we actually have very good discussions with OPEI. We want to make sure that we have good relationships with everybody, share best practices where possible. So this is our finished goods warehouse. I talked about it. We out of the $113 million we carry, anywhere between $40 and $60 million will be in finished goods. So what you're seeing here is all floor stack product. We put corner boards on so that we can stack them 2 and 3 high to make sure that we can use the vertical space whenever required. We want to make sure we cube it out, right? So these are all designed, the pallets are designed to be able to ship in the best kind of cubing out a truck. We want to make sure that we can continue to keep freight costs down. That's all part of our costs, and we don't want to pass anything on. And I'm really proud of the fact that we've been able to sustain our costs despite some of the huge increases that we've had over the years. Being able to sustain those has been really important to make sure that you guys are getting a good product at a competitive price. So we're going to be walking over to the shipping dock. You guys will see some of the more exciting stuff in assembly and molding in a little bit, but certainly any questions so far, by the way? I don't want to go too far along.
Those power generators you're getting into, are you going to get into whole home end generators too?
Not yet. It's a great question. So the question was for generators, are we going to get into the kind of smaller? I'd love it because I could use one for my house. But exactly.
I'm in the market for one.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you. So essentially right now, no, it's all for more commercial use, for trailers. That's kind of our niche right now. That's what we do well. We don't do everything well, but what we do it well. And that's one thing that we want to stick to, is making sure that we don't venture out into something that maybe isn't our niche, or maybe isn't something we could be competitive. I don't want to deliver a product that might not be as good a quality, or the cost might not be there, so that's why we're not in that business yet. That's a great question. Any other questions for you? Yeah.
$100 million parts ready to go, but this looks like all like ready-made equipment,
Including finished goods.
Okay, and finished.
Yes.
And so I was gonna say, what's the average turnover? We see all this stuff sitting here. What's the average time it sits here before it's out the door headed to a dealer?
That's a great question. So on average, we try and turn it between 8 and 10 times a year.
Okay.
So as we're going into the spring, we've got to build up, right? I need to make sure, because I could have a big delta of 150 people. We want to keep people employed. We want to keep people here. So I don't want to be laying off people in the fall and then having to hire 150 people in the winter and the spring. So what we do is we kind of level load production, make sure that we can keep a nice gap. And here's the beauty. This is what I love. I don't have to lay anybody off, and here's why. The landscapers start coming in, and we have a good relationship. We have 40 landscapers in November and December when they're done with the cleanup, which I can't wait. I'm watching the cleanup happen now. I want to see them back in. They're some of our best workers. So we have a great relationship. They come in and work for 3 or 4 months. As soon as spring hits, they leave. So they're the 40 or 50 people buffer that allows me to hit seasonality, and then I don't have to lay anyone off. It's a win-win-win. Right? I get some of the best people we have. I mean, these guys, I wish I could keep them all year round, to be honest with you. They're fantastic. So, you know, if anyone's interested, by the way, you know, I got openings November through. I know a lot of you guys are from the Midwest and stuff, Iowa, Ohio, but hey, we could use some good help. I'll tell you that much. So, yeah.
Is there like a time in the year that you carry the most stock versus a time where it's emptier?
That's actually another great question. You guys are asking fantastic questions. So, absolutely. Right now, November, December is when we actually peak.
Right.
So coming into January, just to give you an idea, we'll produce about 9,300 units a day starting in January. Right now we're producing 5,800 to 6,000. So we're going to ramp up this month and in December to hit about 8,000. And at that point, we're really starting to build inventory that's not necessarily selling through yet.
Right.
So we carry it. So a lot of people look and say, you have a lot of finished goods, but I'll tell you what, what's the most important is not running people out of product.
Yeah.
And that's why we carry a lot of service parts. We carry a lot of finished goods. We're not perfect, but every day we're striving to get there. So, you know, we want to make sure we have it.
That's why I asked the question. I was looking around and going, and I bet you they're already stocking the orders that are going to come in for spring that probably start kicking right after the first of the year.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely right. So, any other questions before we keep walking through shipping? Shipping doors, this is all staged and ready to ship out the door. We essentially ship per week 25 full truckloads and a lot of LTL shipments, and then we do have export containers that we ship out. One thing that's critical is we touch every product that goes to North America. It's all touched here. We build it, we assemble it, it's all done here. So we get our engine blocks overseas from Yamabiko and from Japan, and we do assemble one of them here, which is actually a really interesting story we'll talk about. But in general, we touch it all here. We make it, we package it, we test it, and we'll talk more about that. We test every single unit, and I'm sure you guys have heard some of how we do things with EPA and CARB, but I'll walk you through that as well. So, yeah.
So is that how you guys avoid, I mean, have you guys always produced stuff here, or is that how you guys have adapted to like the tariffs and all of that?
You hit 2 questions there, and I like it both. The question is, have we always produced things here, and how, you know, and what's happened with the tariffs? So, essentially, no. We used to be a distribution long ago when we first opened up. All we did was get product in and distribute it to North America. What we realized is to be competitive, we need to be able to be a manufacturer. We need to get into molding. We need to get into assembly. We need to get into the things that can make us more technically capable to make a better product. So that happened well back in the 80s. We started to transition. And then as the business grew, we just started adding, and that's when the facility started growing to the 5 different expansions. Regarding tariffs, it's a big issue for us. So you guys are probably aware of the kind of the back and forth between China and the US. Certainly there's 25% tariffs coming, so we have to do some really creative things. It's a huge event. It's millions of dollar impact to us that we don't want to pass on. So my number one goal is to mitigate those costs. How do I get away from that? So we have resourced some things here internally from China. We're also actually sending out things, for instance, engine blocks. I'm getting technical, but you guys seem like you know this stuff pretty well. So I'm taking a magneto rotor and pulley. We're shipping it over to Japan to assemble on engine blocks. Now that's a fully assembled engine. It's no longer a component or part of engine coming from China to the US. So now I'm not subject to those duties. So we're trying to do things, and it's all legitimate. We're trying to make sure we do things legitimate to make sure that we can mitigate the costs or minimize the cost of the tariffs. So that's a great question, and it does have an impact. My goal, without a doubt, is to not only mitigate the costs or minimize, but to exceed those. And it's going to be done by doing things better, more efficiently here, getting better product, and making a lot of the resourcing agreements that we discussed.
Well, that's smart, because if they go away in the future, then you're already set yourself up with this 25% buffer, and that you improved yourself, reduced your costs, and then that comes back to
absolutely.
be able
Then
to
it's just a win-win.
reinvest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So We're going to talk about the investments too that we're able to do. So we don't just take a net profit every year and say, oh, this is great, let's all go home and celebrate Christmas and be happy, right? We look at it as what out of that portion can we bring back and invest into the company.
Perfect.
And a lot of it's the corporate office. So to be honest with you, the corporate office is so nice. We looked at the other ones. We just got approved from the board of Yamavico to redo the other offices. It sounds insignificant, but it's not. It's about people. We care about people. You work in a nice environment. We don't want anyone to feel like they're left out or that you don't get the same nice corporate office. So it's important that we invest in people and know that we care.
Yeah.
And it's really, really important. So you guys see that, and that's key. So it's important to know that we're all inclusive and that we do the best we can for everybody.
Perfect.
And the tariff stuff, yeah, if it goes away, it's been a lot of effort, but in general, we're already on track to be able to mitigate those costs, so it's all a win, right?
Exactly.
All right.